YouTubers, welcome back to AZ to Ozarks. Today's recipe is upon special request from one of you viewers. What the viewer was requesting was an artisan bread recipe that did not involve sourdough. So I'm assuming she wanted something that was a little bit quicker to make. And there's tons of recipes out there for a no knead, overnight recipe for artisan bread, but it's made in a cast iron pot and it takes many hours to make. I'm going to give you a recipe that you can make in under 3 hours, closer to 2 hours time total, so you can have it ready today and you don't need a cast iron pot to make it. We are going to use a KitchenAid mixer to make this easier on you so you don't have to mix out the whole thing. And let's go ahead and get started. Our first ingredient is 3 cups of a strong bread flour. I like to use MorBread flour that I purchased through Azure Standard. I will put a link in the comments or in the description down below. And I am, yes, an affiliate with Azure Standard, but it's only because I've been a customer of theirs for over 10 years. They stand by their products and they are amazing products. So I wholeheartedly recommend them to you. Our next ingredient is 1 teaspoon of salt, then 1 tablespoon of yeast. You'll want 1 tablespoon of sweetener. I like to use honey, but sugar certainly works just fine here. This will not make your bread sweet at all. It just helps the yeast grow quickly. Then 1.5 cups of lukewarm water. And I am using my KitchenAid mixer today with a dough hook. You can certainly use a bread machine on the dough setting to do the same thing. So first we'll get it mixing and mix it until everything comes together into a dough, about 3 to 5 minutes. All of the ingredients have come together in a rough dough, and now I will allow it to rest for 5 minutes before we begin kneading it again with the machine. After 5 minutes of resting, we will start the KitchenAid mixer again on a medium-low speed, so it's like the second setting, and allow it to knead for 7 to 10 minutes until a nice smooth dough has formed. Now that we have a nice smooth dough, we will take it out of the KitchenAid. I like to use a bread scraper to do this. All right, I like to shape this into a ball, just a rough ball, by pulling in the sides, folding them over each other, kind of pinching them into the center here. And then you can give it a little bit of a rounding shape here. And then we'll place it into a greased bowl for the first rising. There we go. And cover it with plastic wrap. And here we'll allow about a half hour to an hour for it to rise and double in size. I find that usually it will do it within a half hour. Now that the dough has been rising for a half hour, uncover it and let's turn it out onto the counter. This will be our final shaping. So because this is a yeast bread, it will deflate at this point. And then after this point, we'll have to be very delicate with it to make sure that it doesn't deflate after the final shaping. So I kind of deflate it down a little bit here, and we will shape it the same way, pulling in the edges. And you may need a little bit of flour to keep it from sticking if it's too stuck onto the counter. So we want to make sure we form a nice tight ball here with this dough. in order to keep it from spreading out too flat, because there will be no mold. We're not placing it into a Dutch oven or anything else. This is going to be freestanding on its own, and yeast dough is definitely not as strong as sourdough. You see, I've pinched it all in together here, and now I'm going to turn it over, as this is the top, the seams are on the bottom, and reinforce our round shape here using the heels of my hands, spinning it around. And once you feel you have a nice tight ball of dough, go ahead and place it onto a parchment lined cookie sheet. And I actually have 2 cookie sheets here to make sure we prevent the bottom from burning, especially if you're using an oven that's not convection. And then use a greased piece of plastic and cover it and allow it to rise another 30 minutes or until it's about double size. The shaped dough has rested for a half hour now, and we will very gently peel off the plastic wrap. This is why you grease it, so it doesn't stick to the dough, but you still want to be super gentle, because if it deflates at this point, then it will have to be reshaped again. And I can see that I didn't quite grease the whole thing. So don't be like me. Take your time and grease your paper or your plastic here. All right. Now that it's unwrapped, we can give it a little spray of just pure water, and that helps give it an extra crisp crust, if that's what you're looking for. This is also an opportunity to sprinkle on any toppings you may want. I like the everything but the bagel seasoning. You can leave it plain, or you can sprinkle on sesame seeds or whatever you like to add on. And then using a lame or a very, very sharp knife, you can score the bread. This gives it a predictable place to split open. And I don't know, we'll do maybe a little box here. I find that a knife is never sharp enough, so I really like to use a lame, which is this tool here with a razor blade on it, or you can just use a razor blade or an X-Acto knife, something like that. Now we're going to gently place this into our preheated oven, preheated to 425 degrees. Gently slide your tray in and have a cup of water handy. And we will place water into an old pan you don't care about. This will give steam that helps the bread rise, as well as give the nice crispy crust. And then close this up, and we'll check back on it in 25 minutes. 25 minutes has passed, and I look to have a nice golden loaf here. And so I'm going to take it out of the oven and allow it to cool. Let's go ahead and slice into this bread. Very nice. This is definitely softer than you would get with a sourdough, because sourdough is just by nature a very strong bread. It's a very strong dough. But this will be delicious with your soups. And let's take a look here. This is a beautiful dough here. So this looks like it has good air. You still have a bit of crunchy crust there, and let's go ahead and give it a try. I have my expert taste tester on hand here, and so I'll hand over a little slice to you, mister, and go ahead and give it a bite. Let's hear how it tastes.
Really good.
Is it really good? Do you like it? Mm-hmm. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos in the future.